Welcome back, everyone. It is Sunday sit-down time, and get this, it's the first in-person Sunday sit-down since before the pandemic. We have Columbia Tribune's Eric Blum here. How does it feel to be the first person? Is it an honor?
I'm a hologram or I'm not. I don't know. No, it's an absolute honor to always be here and just to be back. It's a great sign that, we're getting on the other side of this pandemic. I was here, I think, like a month before everything shut down with Andrew, and like we're talking about how Mizzou football was about to get rolling and how exciting basketball was ending up being, and then everything happened. But now it feels like a continuation of that 16 months later, finally.
Well, I was saying to myself, I was like, Eric's the first person I have to have on here because we got to talk some Mizzou. There's plenty of Mizzou stuff going on, surprisingly enough, middle of summer. But football, I want to talk recruiting. It's what everyone's talking about right now. Eli Drinkwitz is getting some really big wins against these blue blood programs. Overall assessment, what would you say about Eli Drinkwitz as a recruiter going into year two?
With the proper context, you got to give him an A. He's not going to be at the Clemson level, not at the Florida, not at the Georgia, Auburn level yet. But the fact that he's leveraged just kind of this time where he has had to do everything over Zoom and FaceTime, and he's only gotten in person back, 3 weeks ago, or maybe probably even less than, right under 3 weeks, is an incredible accomplishment for him. He, looking back to the last class, getting Dominic Love at the flip, getting Travion Ford out of St. Louis, those were big wins, and now he's turning those big wins into even bigger wins. And I think one thing that is just connecting is like he just doesn't sell Mizzou short. He doesn't put Mizzou into any kind of box, I don't think. And so when you look at the kids that they're just in talks to get, just winning cures everything. And it seems like when you look at what Drinkwitz is doing, everything is a half glass full approach, and that could all end this fall. But the little victories he's had, he has piled them up one after another, and into just a great win for the program now, where they're seen very much as a legitimate third team in the SEC East alongside Georgia and Florida. Now it's the matter of how long it takes for them to take that next step. And the fact that we're even talking about this, 18 months after his hiring, I think is a bonus for him. And so with the proper context, it really has made a great thing. It's good overall, but with the proper context and just everything going on with the pandemic, it's a good job, Eli Drinkwitz.
Well, I 100% agree with you that obviously winning is going to help any program, but what do you think is the intangibles here? Do you think it's that charisma? Do you think it's personality? What do you think is really being this difference maker, other than obviously winning and kind of changing things a little bit with Eli Drinkwitz?
I think Eli assessed the program as a whole, and one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't talk about is just the geography of Mizzou. You have Kansas City, you have St. Louis, and you're looking at the programs that directly surround you on every side. Iowa State to the north, Arkansas to the south, Kansas to the west, Illinois to the east. You're better than all of those programs. So your geographical advantage is humongous. So it's like you want to play in the best conference in America and not have any true competition around you where you truly have to go on a national basis to find some competition. There aren't too many schools like that at Mizzou because, you don't realize it, but Clemson and Georgia are only 2 hours apart. And, and right in there is, Alabama, Auburn, Florida are right there. And so just that area of the country is one that's very rich. This area of the country is not, but Eli chooses to use that very much. And I think, his personality puts it out there, and he's very much a natural salesman. That's a great thing for him. But, I think it has more to do with the promise of the program and, kind of the investment that's being put in, and the message from the guys that are already in the program about how, they really have embraced that new Zoo mentality, especially with the guys that have kind of stayed over, like a Martez Manuel and like a Chris Turner and those guys on defense, and you look on offense with like Connor Bazelak, and you see how quickly they've been able to kind of translate success from the guys who were here in the Odom days and yet have stayed on. I think is a good thing, that where across the board you really don't see any red flags. It's more so than everything being a positive, there's no negatives, and I think that that's a big thing.
Another big thing that Eli Drinkwitz has made has really been transfers. We've seen a lot of transfers come in here. When you look most recently here with Connor Wood coming in just this past week, what do you think of the whole transfer situation? How important do you think that is with Eli's steps moving forward as well?
I think that goes under the half glass full thing that I already talked about. Is last year we saw Eli Drinkwitz kind of do that of Kiki Chisholm, Grant McInnes, Mike Maietti, guys that made Mizzou better, very much had a tangible difference. He's kind of pinpointing to those things again. Okay, where do we need? Okay, we need a guy to replace Larry Borum. Let's go out in the transfer portal and get a guy. It was seen very much as their weakest position was cornerback after some of the transfers they had with Jarvis Ware and Jadarius Perkins leaving, and they signed 2 from Tulsa just in the matter of a week, Caleb Evans and Allie Green. So it's just pinpointing and filling out the roster with the limited scholarships they have left.
I think the portal has been one thing people have been paying a lot of attention to recently. Maybe, could get a little worrisome at some points when you see these corners leaving and all these different things. Do you think that's just like a this year thing? It's not really necessarily a problem people think they might have with Mizzou football, people leaving, stuff like that?
they have a large enough roster anyway where unless Connor Bazelak or someone like that was leaving, there is no red flag that goes off. Jadarius Perkins was an interesting one and a deceiving kind of one that not a lot of people thought about because he had never played a game here. He came here, had a legitimate route to playing time, but then might have even gotten recruited off of Mizzou's roster and went down to Florida. And so you look and just see some of those things. I don't think it's a big deal one way or another unless one of your key cogs leaves, and that's kind of hasn't happened here. And that's one of the minor dings against DeConzo Martin that Xavier Pinson did walk. You got to work it out with him, and I think there's some other problems there that you got to also keep in mind there. But when it comes to a large majority of what's happened with the two Mizzou revenue sports, they've kind of cut out some of the players that maybe don't work with what they're doing and have replenished it to make those programs better. And I think that that's a common trait with both of them.
Well, you did mention Conzo Martin. That's a perfect segue into Mizzou hoops. We obviously met with a lot of these new players this week. You were there. 8 new guys. Everything is really different for Conzo Martin this season. Do you think, it's so early to tell, but do you think this is a good or a bad thing? All these new faces, basing off what we know last year coming into this season.
I think it's a good thing. I think Mizzou got better this offseason. I mentioned Pinson. He's kind of the one player that just is tangibly great that you've got to keep on the roster. Maybe he had run his course here in Columbia, but still he's a guy who's proven in the SEC who's going to go to another SEC school and probably do pretty well in LSU. But you look at some of the guys they lost, and I don't need to mention their names, but it seemed a little bit more like you were cutting fat as opposed to cutting bone, and you added some bone back in. I think Boogie Coleman's a phenomenal addition. You look at it, kind of what Cassius Robertson and Drew Smith have done. He's very much that, mid-major star who can come to Mizzou and kind of replicate that same success. I think Amari Davis is a confident guy. Deshaun Gordon and Ronnie DeGray are also just more complete adds, and I think that there's going to be a lot of focus on the freshmen. One of the things, when you lose a Trey Jackson and guys like that, giving freshmen some playing time, that is not going to be a problem going forward for Mizzou basketball because of guys like Anton Brookshire, because of guys like a Yaya Keita, who Konza was raving about coming off of ACL surgery out of DeSmet on, I think it was Wednesday we were there, maybe Thursday.
Yes.
But just looking at some of those rotating pieces, we don't know where a lot of them fit together, but that's the beauty of the offseason, having them here in June where you have all these months to figure it out before you have to play games in, October, early November. So I think Mizzou basketball got better over the offseason. Are they NCAA tournament good? That's still TBD. I can't definitively say no, but I can't definitively say yes either. I think they're mid-pack SEC right now. So definitely some gains on the men's basketball side, but I think, that'll kind of come in more into focus as the season plays out.
What do you think the imperative is for this team in the offseason, leading up to this season? I'm sure, obviously Konza really said it really isn't so much about the working out right now. It's about building other things and building team. But what would you say the imperative is right now?
I think it might be just that, but I think one thing that is big is going to be realizing, okay, off of the court, who plays what role? At the end of the day, just finding that chemistry off the court, I think, is a big thing for this team. Who's going to be the go-to guy to get a bucket, and they kind of figured out it was Drew Smith at the end of last year, but that took them a while to figure out. Who's going to be the guy that gets that gritty, tough rebound? Who's going to be the guy that kind of, on paper, you figure out, this is our first thing? I think the quicker they figure that out, the quicker they can start that trial and error, and the quicker they can maybe build those bonds and find those connections on the court, and I think that's a big thing for this team, and maybe they add another transfer, who knows, to kind of fill out everything and have more trial and error, and I think it's going to have to be somebody Konzo and his staff have to be infatuated with the dozen players they already have in Columbia. But as of right now, I think that as far as June 18th today goes, they're in an all right spot. They're not in a great spot because of how much roster they have, but they've gotten better since what we thought they would be in March.
Well, we still have quite a ways to go before these seasons started, but it looks like fans have a lot to watch out for, a lot of new faces, and a lot of excitement surrounding Eli Drinkwitz. So I appreciate you coming on, Eric. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday night. For the rest of you guys, we'll be right back after this.